Welcome to Seeking Numina, the Sacred Places podcast. I'm your host, Elyse Welles, and today I'm joined by my friend, Jenny Davies-Reazor. Jenny is a mixed media artist inspired by myth, magic, and the natural world. She works in ceramics and mixed media, as well as jewelry, creating pieces with deep intention. A former arts educator in public schools, she now uses those skills teaching online, art journaling classes, and on her YouTube channel, encouraging people to create for the love of the process. Jenny can be found on YouTube at Jennifer Davies-Reazor, and on IG at jdavies-razor, as well as her website, jdaviesrazor.com. And you'll see all these lovely things in the bio. Welcome to Seeking Numina. I'm your host, Elyse Welles, and I invite you to connect with the sacred wild within and around you through Numina, or sacred sites around the world, and the wisdom they hold. Together, let's remember the old ways, build relationships with land spirits, and dare to reach out to the fairies. The sacred wild is inviting you to dance in the moonlight. Will you answer their call? Thank you so much for being here, Jenny.
It is an absolute pleasure. I feel like we've known each other longer than just a month or so.
I know. We met, for those who might not know, I talk about Sacred Space Conference all the time, so they probably all know that I go there and teach. But I met you at Sacred Space this past year in 2026, and your art stole my heart. Like we can't, how many times did we come by and get more stuff? Me and my friend Ember.
Which is wonderful because as an artist who's at this conference, I steal away for a few occasional workshops, but I am there to represent myself and my artwork. So it's lovely when people come not only to talk to me about my work, but just to chat and hang out. It's a bonus of being there as, at a work event.
And I'm gonna show everybody. So if you're listening and not watching on YouTube, this might be one to go check out on YouTube, just so even if occasionally you peek down and see what we're showing, because Jenny is such a talented artist. This little statue drew me in like the first hour of the conference. I went down to the vendor center just to walk around, and I fell in love with her. Listeners know I'm obsessed with Malta. I'm obsessed, of course, with ancient Greece. And I feel like and this is a black tourmaline for those wondering, which is a super important stone in my practice. So I felt like you just captured something that the sacred places I've visited has. All your pieces have this resonance of ancient magic that I just love.
Thank you. I have to say that the Venus of Willendorf has been kind of she's my OG. She's my gateway goddess because as a teenager with a curvy body type who was raised in a Catholic, limited structured kind of spiritual religious dynamic, she was a revelation to me because not only did she hearken back to a time when the feminine divine was recognized and appreciated, but she was the antithesis of the pop culture body type that, a teenage girl is constantly fighting against. So she's going to be coming into a ceramic tile form very soon because I want to have her more frequently represented in my body of work. So.
And maybe that's a great thing to speak on is how do we, this is the Sacred Places podcast, but the feminine body is so sacred, and artists have an awareness of the beauty of bodies in general that I think, those who just like myself who just appreciate art, we might not necessarily understand because you actually are crafting each of these pieces. And have you ever felt that when you make a certain piece, or has it brought you closer to love and acceptance of the human body?
Well, I mean, I will confess that, body image issues are always going to be a struggle, but I find that my art practice grounds me so in being able to appreciate and focus on the skills and abilities that I can create with my body, right? While it's primarily with my hands, it's also, eyes, brain, spirit, all of the a recipe, if you will, of all of the experiences and the things that have distilled down into me on this day at this time. So I definitely try and use a diverse array of skin tones, body images when I represent the female form in my artwork, because I do like to be seen and have everyone else feel that they're seen.
Yeah. That's my been how I can do this too, because we all have it, I think. Especially, I grew up in the early 2000s. The way we show, we like, I remember getting Teen Vogue or Cosmo Girl, and the clothing spreads, everything was for like size 2 to 4, and then they would have the plus size girl, and she was huge, and that was it. It was either you have washboard, flat chest, flat butt, or you're the Venus of Willendorf. There was a no in between. And so a lot of my body image issues have come from like I'm definitely plus, I've always been plus size, but it's not necessarily the Venus, and I'm never gonna be able to be these little size 2 things. So I feel like that can be so hard to do for ourselves. But when I go to a sacred site and I see a buxom goddess, or I see these women, like there's this one statue. I see that actually I see this more than once. I've seen this a lot. I saw this in the Heraklion Museum in Crete. I've seen this in the Athens Archaeological Museum. I've seen this in the Delphi Archaeological Museum. There's a lot of statues that purposely seem to accentuate the soft belly of the woman, no matter her size. She might be somewhat thinner or bigger, but her belly's softness is so important clearly important to have carved and softened in a stone, in a stone statue.
Yeah, and although I'm child-free by choice, I think that that kind of core is the center of the self, the center of creativity, right? It's not the womb, the cauldron. I mean, these parallels and these archetypes exist for a reason, because they're speaking to us across cultures and times and languages. So while I'm not creating new life, I'm creating new things, new artwork.
Well, and you are creating new life, because when I was going through my second degree training with the fairy tradition of witchcraft, which in our tradition that's the peak. We got rid of the third degree kind of out of respect for some of the illicit practices of the Great Rite in the distant past. Um, and so in that second degree, it's quite a long journey. It's 2 years and 2 days minimum. And really, like, one of the big conversations is going to be about how do you form spiritual community? How do you birth creativity? And I, at this moment in my life, am child free. I think I am a child free person, but I'm young enough that I'm always open. We'll see what happens. But I really do prefer so far birthing books, birthing ideas. I birthed a coven last year. Like, these things mean more to me than I could picture the traditional sense of birthing doing for me. And I think that's so valid. My high priestess, who was going through this with me, of course, she brought up the children side of it. She has 4 children of her own, and really, that was where we landed. Is creation is birthing new idea, and that new idea can take so many forms. And there are so many of us, especially in the witchcraft and spiritual communities, I think, that do not have physical children, but we have spiritual children in a sense, or we have these books and this oeuvre of work that we do contribute to the gift of creation through.
Yeah, and I'll admit I'm a child of the 80s. I'm Gen X. And so there's a part of me that's boiled down to the core to buck the establishment. And
Hmm.
being raised in that time frame, get married, have kids. What about your career? Well, you can have a career first and then have kids. And so there's
Yeah.
part of me that was like, "Oh, wait, I don't feel passionate about this. And I'm not going to go there unless it's really my journey." So I have a lovely, supportive husband who understood that it wasn't my journey, and we have an insane dog who keeps us on our toes. So yeah, yeah. I will, musing on that, the teen years and this kind of these life decisions that you make when you've barely begun to live. I have to say that one of the pivotal events in my youth was being able to live in London for 6 months and take a very much a heart-centered pilgrimage to Glastonbury.
Mm.
And so that was, I mean, I'm in art school, I'm in college, I'm living in London, I'm completely independent, and and my flatmates were like, "You're going where? What? By yourself?" And I was like, "Yeah, none of you are invited. I'm going by myself." And it was in that kind of time period that I knew I wanted to combine my fledgling pagan spirituality with my artwork. And that to me was the right path. That was, um, as Christopher Hughes would say, my medicine that I wanted to share with the world. And
Mhm.
and that has been the beginning of everything in fits and starts with different, tangents on the path, but it's very exciting now to be focused on that full time and to be able to share my artwork and with people that are speaking the same language, with people that are, um, yeah, hearing me and seeing me and, yeah, understanding.
How do you think pilgrimage to a sacred place like Glastonbury informed your confidence to continue on this journey as an artist?
I find that's a hard one to put words on because it
Mhm.
was such a deep, as I point to my chest, as I point to my heart, it was such a deep sense of rightness. It was just, I had never felt in a place the way I felt in Glastonbury. And it, it was just connected. It was just a sense of connectedness and a sense of rightness. I've been diving deeper and deepening my relationship with the Avalonian goddesses, working with Jenna Talendru, who I think is a mutual friend of ours,
She's a friend of the
and
pod. She's been on the show.
excellent. Um, and then having that, that's been over 30 years since that original pilgrimage to Glastonbury, but it I don't
Catalyzed? Would catalyzed be the word?
confirmed.
Hmm.
It wasn't as energetic and explosive as catalyzed makes me feel, but it was kind of a hug and a sense of peace and deep yes, in that it was the right place, the right time, the right path. And I was drawn to Glastonbury because I had done so much research and was so in love with Arthurian lore and legend as a teenager. And then that segued into goddess lore and legend as my spiritual path developed. And so it just felt in Cornwall and in Glastonbury, it just felt like I was home.
Yeah.
So more at home than
There's,
I'd ever felt in the States. So
yes, I love what you said about it feeling, it feels like a returning and that confirmation or another word I use to describe pilgrimage is they're just so affirming. Like they affirm where we're at, where we're going, who we are, and that being held sensation. It's so interesting because some of the places I've had that, at some sacred place I've had that at, are not places I have any heritage connection to or any connect. It's not like I have a friend from there. Like Costa Rica was one. I actively did not want to go on the pilgrimage I was invited to. And I got the inclination that I should really do a tarot reading on it. And I got Nine of Swords if I don't go, Three of Cups if I do go. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. Just one more time, just in case. Did another reading. Ten of Swords if I don't go. Ten of Cups if I do go. And it was the most on the nose, obvious, contrasting. Like there was no skew in it. And it was like early February. It was going to be awful driving to the airport. I did not want to go. But I trusted my guides, I trusted fate, and I went. And I had this experience out in the water of feeling so held And I got this affirmation of, because, it's kind of a side note, but sometimes on our spiritual journeys, especially in the old days, I think we were told so often, like, don't share this experience, keep it to yourself, don't dishonor
Mhm.
it by spreading it or sharing it with the wrong people or publicly or but now in the age of the internet, and then especially now that I'm literally a spiritual teacher, I've had to really work through that and recognize when something is meant to be shared and to who and why. And I got this massive affirmation of you are supposed to teach these particular things. And so I ended up launching a course after that that essentially became the foundation of all the work that I'm doing, the path of the sacred wild. So, and then I also got in the same 2 minutes, I don't even know, it was literally a few minutes floating in the water. I also got another confirmation of this road trip I was planning to visit these oracles and write this book. Just more confirmation. Um, and you mentioned it was 30 years ago. And yet, and yet,
Or more. But yeah.
and it's still rippling forward.
Yeah, I definitely my path diverged quite a bit because I was a full-time arts educator and I was working in the public school system. And that was in the 90s. This is not a time or a place where my personal beliefs were to be shared with anyone. So
Yeah.
very much closeted for years. But through artwork and through myth, there were safe ways to share art history and different mythology is taught in the school system. So I could have an outlet and share things I was really excited about with my students through the safety of the structure that I was working within. And it wasn't until um, the early 2000s that I quit teaching full time and was able to focus more on my artwork. So I feel like that has been kind of a rebirth period in the last 20 some years. Uh, but I feel energetic and strong and motivated and pretty passionate about what I'm doing. So who would have thought that I'd be on YouTube as a 50-something-year-old woman doing art journal pages of goddesses?
Oh,
So
I love it. So tell us your process of like how do you know what to make? Because you make so many different types of art too. So if you share it all with us.
yeah, I I consider right now that I have kind of three different bodies of work. I am a ceramic artist, and so I do ceramic tiles that I will sculpt and then do in a series like a printmaker. So, for example, a dryad tile, I can reproduce her in different color palettes. I can go to an arts festival and explain to people why she is a tree and, yes, a woman at the same time, and bring mythology back to, the mundane world. Um, so she's done in series, reproducible. But then lately I've been trying to incorporate a bit more whimsy into my and witchiness into my clay. And so this is a shelfie. And these are
I love
completely one of
these.
a kind. Yeah. And these, I made a batch of these for Sacred Space, and I was like, I can't stop making these. Um, and so I actually took suggestions from people on what things to include and really had it be interactive and kind of a nice conversation starter with people. So there will be more of those coming this week in the studio.
Oh,
But
that's so cool.
I have always been, I in art school was doing metalsmithing and jewelry making. And so that has morphed into beadwork. So this I find I started out doing the beadwork and it's extremely meditative. It's extremely kind of mindful and slow. And I love crafting pieces that have this has amber and turquoise. This agate sadly cracked. So I'm sorry, I'm going to have to keep that because it's got a defect. But I
Well,
love having a piece that feels like a talisman, that feels like an amulet. And I've done some pieces for myself with literally intentions written behind this fabric to really embed my spell work, my intention into the piece as I'm crafting it. So, that's totally hidden. That's just for me. But my artwork is my practice in all ways. And I know it's been almost 6 years to the day that I went into my own personal COVID lockdown, but I started working in mixed media again, and that has taken off into places I did not ever expect because that's when I started a YouTube channel. And
Ah,
so this is a piece in homage to Blodeuwedd, the Welsh goddess, and in her transformation with some of the flowers of which she was made. And so this is only going deeper and deeper with my studies and my personal development. I just finished a year of study with Christopher Hughes, so I'm officially an Awenedd of the ADO, the Druid Order of Anglesey, Wales. So
congratulations.
thank you. I am eager to see where that new path takes me and inspires me even more, both in mixed media and in clay. I have pages of sketches of a Blodeuwedd tile that I want to make, Druid Triskel, Lancian Sky. I mean, so many things that I need to get back to the studio. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that this week some of the mundane paperwork sides of being a full-time artist are done, and now I can focus on getting back to creating. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So your spring is going to be all
Yes,
about the doing. I love it.
yes. So I often feel like I am being pulled in three different directions with these three different lines of work, but they'll inform each other. I'll do a small ceramic piece that gets beaded. I'll have a page in my journal that becomes a print or a sticker, but then have that same motif, like this goddess Blodeuwedd, that's going to then transition into clay, into mixed media. So I like making the connections from one material to the other and seeing how the inspiration or the concept or the motif changes and yet is so the same as clay is just so delicious. I mean, you can't ask for a better material that is literally earth and water,
Yes.
tempered by air and fire, imbued with spirit. It is the perfect package. So I will never stop working in clay, even though I've added a few other enticing materials into the mix. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel the same way about clay. Actually, not too long ago, just maybe a couple weeks ago, my husband surprised me with an incredible date. He actually took us down into Baltimore, and we had a private teacher who let us make. She taught us how to throw on the wheel, and then let us make whatever we wanted for 3 hours. So we made a bunch of stuff that we'll pick up in quite a few weeks because but she's gonna fire it for us. And it was so special. I'd always wanted to do that. And I also had a friend, I have a friend in Kriti, Linda Papa, who does wild clay harvesting on the mountaintops. So she took me with her to harvest the clay, and then we didn't get to, it takes, I think, a week and a half at best to like filter and do all that. So I wasn't there long enough to do all that, but I was able to use some clay she had processed, and we did some offerings. I'll make sure they go up on YouTube here over top of us, but it was just incredible to be so intimate with earth, because when we talk about sacred places, yes, it's about where they are in the world, the relationship to the culture of the people and all of that, but when we really primally connect to the earth as a sacred place, I mean, how better to do that than through clay?
yeah, I have friends who have also made their own watercolor paints with
Mm.
earth and pigments found on location. Small amounts, doing it responsibly, but that's something that talks to me in the back of my head for when I next get a chance to go to Wales. Should I get to go to Anglesey? Should I get to go back to Cornwall to be able to, in a small way, to paint a watercolor with water from Chalice Well?
Yes. Yes.
to to make a small batch of paint with, earth from a stone circle in Cornwall, and to really embody, literally embody the land into the artwork. So we'll see where that painting watercolors with water from places is a really exciting idea to me. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, we'll see what happens with that.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Do you ever think about this is just coming to me. This wasn't something I was thinking of before even, but I was reading a book. Vanessa Lavalle wrote this book. She's a French priestess and scholar. She's a very academic woman. And because she's in France, she is reading texts we don't have. And so, even though her book is in English, a lot of her citations are these French papers. And so, a lot of her findings are totally different than what we would
Mhm,
find.
mhm.
Um, I'm prefacing that because one of the things that she writes about in her book, Ancient Goddess Magic, is how to inspirit a statue with the goddess of who they are, or painting, or how to make art of that goddess, the goddess, like how to actually almost like transubstantiation, like bring them into it. Have you had experiences like that with any of your pieces where like just the goddess is present fully in them, or
I feel like I've had experiences where the divine is with me in the creation.
yeah,
I do really treasure those moments of having the muse kind of infuse me. And I have not per se had that experience with a finished piece, although that concept sounds exhilarating. In some ways, knowing that my pieces are going to go to someone, I would hope that they would have that experience with the piece because we all have such diverse backgrounds and experiences and belief systems and practices that it would be very exciting to me if someone had one of my pieces that then became really um, meaningful and evocative for them.
yeah.
So while I appreciate it on the making side, I also want to release them to who they're meant to go to and hope that that connection is made between the piece and the person.
That's beautiful. And I think my last question for you is that Balbo behind you, the Greek goddess?
Yes. Um, I did not make her. Back in the late 90s, I was doing postgraduate work at Maryland Institute College of Art. And a bunch of us in the ceramics department decided that we were going to do the mica production of the vagina monologues that year. And so
Oh,
yeah, I was teaching high school ceramics at the time. And so I worked with the ceramics instructor and a couple of the mica undergrads. And we put on the vagina monologues. We made about 1,000 little porcelain vulvas so that they were like worry stones, so that anybody who came to the production got to have a little vulva, a little vagina,
I
so to
love
speak.
it.
And they were in a purple velvet lined basket for people to reach into when they entered the auditorium. Some of my high school students came to the production, which was a mind-blowing, the worlds colliding moment. And so this was made for me by Andrea Keys, who's now Andrea Keys Connell. She's a ceramic artist in North Carolina. And so that is an early piece of hers that I treasure because it's um, from that Vagina Monologues team that we put on.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I love that goddess. She's been a persistent sort of force the past month or so. So that was funny to see her sitting back there.
5 years of YouTube and nobody has made a comment because I sit here. This is my workspace when I film for YouTube. And while most of my process video or, the work table hands down, Balbo's been sitting there over my shoulder for years. And you're the first person to um, give her a nod. So I love that.
Oh, yeah. Well, and for those who don't know, she's kind of, to me, she's like a Greek Sheila in a gig.
Yeah.
Or, because she's this exposed vagina, but she is the laughing woman. Like it's such a
Yeah.
exciting, comedic. And we have actually, as of about this moment in time, as we're recording this, at the end of winter, as spring is coming, there's a Dionysian festival called the Phalloporia, where you follow a procession behind a giant phallus, and then the phallus is erected at different crossroads, and people come and dance around it to invite fertility back to the land. But one of the crucial parts is when that phallus is erected at these different points in town, you have usually it's a man in drag, but nowadays it is sometimes also a woman. and they play this bawdy old lusty woman, and she makes really nasty sex jokes. Like, honestly, like to translate them into English is awful, but they're these ancient Greek jokes, so they still say the same jokes because they were in a lot of different plays, and like some scripts that we have coming down. So yeah, Balbo, I think there's just such a silliness to goddesses that we can forget sometimes in the somberness.
Yeah, I was completely taken with her. I was familiar with the goddess when Andrea made that for me, and I do use humor to diffuse a situation. If I'm feeling nervous or insecure, I go to humor. And so that to me is the perfect synthesis of female power and humor. And I love having her there watching over me. She's got my back.
All right, Jenny, tell our listeners where they can find your work and any upcoming shows that you have. This episode will come out over the summer, so if you have anything after maybe June or July.
I can be found definitely on YouTube at least once a week with different art journaling videos. I like to post process pictures, and my social media presence is on Instagram. And so I know all the links with those addresses will be, in the podcast details. I am I'm findable, but I am backing off social media a little bit of recent days because I would rather be in the studio. I do have a website, so there's a great gallery space there with a lot of my existing work, and I'm easy to contact through any of these methods. And as to shows, um, in the summer, going to be traveling a little bit this summer, a trip to Alaska, a trip to Scotland. It's a big year, but I will
Yay.
settle back down and I will be at Free Spirit Gathering, which is in Maryland in August. And I will be at Arts Fest, which is a fabulous fine arts festival down on Solomon's Island, Maryland, and that is in mid-September. So if we're talking late summer, early fall, those are the top two spots where you can find me. I don't do a lot of selling online since so many of my pieces are one of a kind, but I have had multiple people reach out to me and ask what's available and email a few pictures, make things happen. So I'm around. I'm around.
And I'm so glad you are, and I hope I'll get to see you in person again at one of these shows. I'm close to Free Spirit Gathering, I think I'll be in the U.S. that weekend. So if I am, I will let you know.
I'm also planning on a little festival that I just heard about called Soundfest, which is in Havre de Grace.
It
Planning
is
on going to that one.
shameless plug. I appreciate it.
I mean,
It's going to
I
be
mean,
October 31st, November
yeah,
1st.
yeah.
Come on down.
I look forward to that. Havre de Grace is a cute little town, so I
Yeah.
like I like some of the coffee shops. Yeah, yeah. I look forward to that. That'll be a fun weekend.
Oh, Jenny, I'm so grateful the universe put us in each other's lives. And it was
As
so
am I.
great to get to share this conversation with everybody on the show. Thanks again for being here. And I hope to have you back as well to talk more about all these things, maybe after Scotland.
That would be wonderful because it is a goddess ancestral kind of themed pilgrimage. Heather Ashamara and Rhonda McCrinnon.
Oh,
So,
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
And
friends with
Wendy
Rhonda.
Dooner.
And
Yeah,
Wendy. Yeah,
yeah,
the sisters I love so much. Yeah. Oh, that's
exactly.
awesome. That is
Yeah, and
awesome.
my sister knows Wendy Dooner somehow. So it's going to be an amazing,
Oh, yeah.
amazing combination of women. So
All right.
perhaps I'll have a chance to do some watercolors with water from the land when I'm there. I'll keep you posted.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Thank you.
It was lovely to talk to you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for seeking Numina with me today. Join me at patreon.com/Elyse Welles to support this show and get access to a library of rituals, exclusive videos, meditations, and more. To learn more about my upcoming retreats, book a tarot reading, or learn with me in workshops, classes, or mentorship, visit seekingnumina.com.